if I gave you $1 billion and dropped you in Nigeria and said, buy anything you want anywhere in Africa, but you have to hold it 100 years, there's not a single thing you would buy anywhere in Africa that you would prefer to have rather than $1 billion of Bitcoin. Nothing. There's nothing in the entire continent. So the value from Bitcoin comes from the fact that there is nothing to buy in Cuba, in Venezuela, in Argentina, in Africa that you can put away for 100 years and you can put in your pocket or move anywhere on earth. So the appeal is global digital property rights or global digital capital. The reason that Apple works is because 1 billion people want an iPhone. Whether the world stinks, whether the world is chaotic, at war or not at war, people still want 1 billion iPhones because the iPhone's a good idea and it's a better idea than a pad and paper 100 years ago. And the reason Bitcoin works is because I can put all my money on my phone and zap it at the speed of light and no one can steal it from me and I get rich. So the point is the getting rich and having freedom and having power, in power is, why will AI work? Because I can ask any question to my phone and it will answer. That it's going to work whether the world is screwed up or not. It's just that in a world that's screwed up and it's a life or death decision and you need to ask a question and get an answer in 5 minutes, maybe it'll save your life.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to save your life. It's just a good technical idea. Now, go ahead.
Yeah.
You have a follow-up question on that.
How are you so convinced it's going to be going up in price 20 to 40% a year over the next, let's say, 10 to 20 years?
You have to buy something with price, supply, inelasticity. So what is the one thing on the earth that you can buy where they can't make more of?
Well, I would say beachfront real estate would be one of them, but also Bitcoin.
Beachfront real estate is the closest conventional idea to a scarce desirable asset that the politicians can't make more of. What is it the government can't print more of? They can print more bonds. Mm-hmm. They will issue trillions of dollars of bonds. They can print more currency, so don't buy that. Corporations can manufacture more Hershey's bars and more Kellogg's cereal and more, Netflix can stream more videos, right? So anything a company can create more of in a factory you don't want to buy, anything an AI can create. Yeah, you want to buy, art rights? Well, if the AI can generate infinite free art personalized, then those rights might not be worth anything. So you don't want anything a robot can do. You don't want anything an AI can create. You don't want anything a manufacturer can create. You don't want anything a politician can create. You ask the question, what's the thing that's least likely to be taxed or expropriated, seized from you? Okay, and so Bitcoin's interesting and beachfront property is interesting, but beachfront property it's illegal to buy it in certain countries. In the UAE, you couldn't buy it if you wanted to. You have to be a member of the royal family to buy it. That's actually a law. In Florida, the beachfront property comes with a 2% property tax. So that means that you can buy it, but you're going to have to come up with an equivalent amount of cash to pay the tax to keep it for 30 years. But another way to say it is over 30 years or 20 years, the state's just going to take it away from you. So maybe you want to buy some floating property that doesn't have a 2% tax on it. And the advantage of Bitcoin is maybe Bitcoin isn't property in Florida. But you can buy beachfront property in Wyoming. I guess you can't. No, right? So how do you move your beachfront property to Wyoming? Tricky. With Bitcoin, you can actually move your Bitcoin from Florida to Wyoming. And in the worst case, you could put it with a custodian in Singapore or Monaco or London, right? Carry it with you. So it's less likely to get a property tax. If you own the best building in a country where there's a coup d'etat, they're taking your building. Like look at what happened to everybody that owned property in Cuba. Castro took it all, right? And so you're asking the fundamental question, why do I think Bitcoin will keep going up? Because every other investment is being diluted. It's either being mismanaged. Like you want to buy Kodak stock or Xerox stock? How'd that work out for you, right? Either your competitor destroys you, the management team destroys you, or it gets unionized. What happened to, if you buy a car company, it gets unionized and then it gets bankrupted by the union, maybe that wasn't a good investment. So companies have tariff risk, union risk, competitive risk, tax risk, execution risk, nexus risk. Alibaba was a good company, but maybe they can't do business in the US, right? So did you want to put all your money into a company that'll get banned in the country you live in? That's the challenge there. All that stack of risks, you can easily say that adds up to about 7% per year. If the return on the S&P index is 7%, if I could get the risk to go away, the return would be 14%. And so that's what we call equity risks. And there's a bunch of them. But if I go to property, real estate, maybe the real estate gets rent controlled. Maybe the real estate gets taxed. Maybe the tax increases. Maybe the real estate is struck by a tsunami. Maybe the real estate rusts. Maybe the real estate the neighborhood goes bad. Maybe people stop coming to the city, right? You had the best real estate in a city that died because the industry died, right? Maybe the country fails. Maybe the state fails, right? Real estate, in theory, is scarce desirable, but we can make more land. Half of Miami Beach is all just man-made. Half of Boston is man-made. Look at Emirates, a lot of man-made stuff. Go to Monaco right now. If the value of your land goes up too high, they just build out and they'll reclaim the ocean. The entire airport in Hong Kong's made on reclaimed land. Yeah. So even land itself isn't truly scarce. And of course, ultimately, there's plenty of real estate in the world. I mean, if you fly over the United States and you look down, you'll notice that 98% of the country is not occupied. Land doesn't make a good treasury asset. The ideal asset for a corporation or a wealthy person is an asset which is liquid and fungible. So I've got a certain amount of money, and on Saturday afternoon, if I need to raise cash, is there somebody somewhere in the world that will create a market for the thing that I have to sell? And there is a market for Bitcoin on Saturday afternoon worldwide. In fact, it's the greatest global market. There's not a market for your ranch in Texas on Saturday afternoon.